Okay, dokie, so this is something new I want to do. So for a summer assignment, I have to read through the book, How to Read Literature Like a Professor, this book, and so I'm going to be doing a little chapter summary for each chapter to both help me remember it, and if people stumble upon this, great for them too. Somebody started with chapter 11, Violence. I've read through the first 10 chapters, and I didn't want to go back. I'll get to them, but not anytime very soon. So chapter 11, Violence. It starts with this story about Sethi opening. And so the story is just kind of a slave woman, and she's running from the authorities, and then the authorities catch up to her, and so she kills her children. And um, Foster opens up with this, but his point is why, and so that's how he opens into the violence. And so some things he has says is like violence in literature always has meaning, and the reason it has meaning is because the authors get to choose what happens to them. In real life, accidents kind of happen, but in literature, things never happen. Another point he wants to make is that violence is very common. Some authors can kind of kill off characters pretty quick sometimes, and so we see violence whether it's in storms or people fighting, or there really any kind of conflict. There probably is violence involved. And so then he goes into two types of violence that he sees in literature. The first type is specific harm. So this is going to be character to character. This is physical stuff like shooting, stabbing, drowning, poisoning, bombing, hit and run accidents, stuff like that. And then there's another one where this is called general harm. So if like a character beats another character, that would be specific harm. But sometimes the authors will use what's called general harm. Usually it's used for plot advancement, and what's interesting about general harm is there's no party responsible or guilty for it. The characters themselves did not cause it. Kind of like in Lord of the Flies, the boys cause and kill Piggy and everything, or kill Ralph, but that's a specific harm. The boys kind of chose to do that, even though the author made the boys choose to do it. General harm is more like a storm coming and people getting sick. And what would be an accident in real life, like someone getting sick, isn't an accident in literature because the author made that happen. A point he also tries to make is that in mysteries, the deaths in a mystery, especially the beginning one, we are expecting it because of the genre, and so it lacks depth. But when authors do use violence and kill people off, they do try to communicate a point, and it might be a broader point as well. So he talks about kind of in some points for Robert Frost. He goes over this poem where this kid is working and he gets called in for supper, and the kid like slices his hand off with like a table saw or or farm equipment or something like that. And so that might be used to communicate the physical violence, an accident, so general harm, communicating a broader point that the universe is very cold and sterile, almost, and working against us most of the time. And then he ends the chapter with this point and kind of saying that usually when there's violence, there's more than one reason behind it. So when you come to violence, there may be the reason that the violence happened for the characters, like the conflict, but there's also another reason behind that, and to look for that meaning. And so that's chapter 11, Violence.